Chapter 1105. Just as Gu Mingming was about to leave, her phone suddenly vibrated. Looking down, she saw the name displayed on the screen as 743. Page 7, paragraph 4, line 3, hello. Gu Mingming was a little confused. Wasn't he in a meeting? Why was he calling her? There's a document on my table, bring it to the meeting room for me. Oh. Gu Mingming stood up and walked to the office table. She saw 2 documents clamped in a blue folder and asked, there are 2 here, which one do you want? Anything. Anything? Gu Mingming frowned in confusion. Snakel immediately added, it's all the same, just take any set over, hurry up. Gu Mingming did not suspect anything and just took one out of the office. The meeting room was 1 floor below. Gu Mingming took the elevator specially used by the CEO down and there was already someone waiting at the elevator entrance. The moment the elevator doors opened, he bowed respectfully and greeted, Madam. Gu Mingming was shocked and before she could explain, she saw that person gesturing for her to follow, before hurriedly leading the way. Gu Mingming had no choice but to follow. At the entrance of the meeting room, the welcoming person pushed open the soundproof glass door and invited Gu Mingming in. Thank you. Gu Mingming was still not used to being treated like this. Actually, she had her own hands and could open the door herself. Tu Ming, come here. Snake stretched out his hand, palm facing upwards. Gu Mingming thought that he was in a hurry for the document, so she ran around the meeting table and handed the document to him. In the end, Snake did not even look at it and just casually threw the document to one side. He then grabbed Gu Mingming's arm and pulled forcefully, causing Gu Mingming to fall into Snake's arms. Snake then heaved a sigh of relief and said, Indeed, I can only feel at ease when I hug you in my arms. I missed you so much after not seeing you for 5 minutes. With that, Snake buried his head into Gu Mingming's neck and rubbed against her, greedily inhaling her scent. Stop fooling around. Everyone is watching. Gu Mingming struggled to get up, but Snake did not want to let go at all. He raised his head from Gu Mingming's neck and glanced coldly at the higher-ups sitting around the meeting table. Then everyone lowered their noble heads in unison. Above everyone's heads was the special effect of, you can't see me, you can't see me. No one is watching. Let me hold you for a while. Snake was very satisfied that even the manager he hired knew how to read people's expressions. He had no choice, his Tu Ming was too shy. Seeing that Gu Mingming was still struggling, Snake whispered into her ear, be good and let me hug you or, we can do something else here? Gu Mingming's face was burning red and she did not dare to act rashly. But it was really inappropriate to be hugged like that during a meeting. It felt like King Zhou of Shang was still hugging Daji when he was attending court. Don't be like this. People will say that I'm a femme fatale? Snake chuckled and pecked Gu Mingming's lips lightly. He said, silly girl, my kingdom is more than enough to support a femme fatale like you. Gu Mingming was tickled by Snake. And when Gu Mingming smiled, Snake's lips curled up too. Then the entire meeting room brightened up. Continue. With Snake's order, the meeting could finally continue. Chapter 1106. At 11:50 in the afternoon, Snake closed his laptop. Everyone in the meeting room stood up in unison and bowed to Snake before filing out of the room, closing the door behind them on their way out. Asking for documents was an act? Gu Mingming finally asked. Snake tapped Gu Mingming's little nose lightly and said, so smart. Gu Mingming felt a sweetness in her heart as she lowered her head and chuckled, no wonder you said it's all the same. So it's because you don't need it so you can take anyone. Snake hugged Gu Mingming and kissed her asking, did I scare you? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, I don't really understand what you guys are talking about, but I don't find it boring either. Because Snake was really too handsome. As they had to use the projector, the meeting room was in a semi-dark state. Gu Mingming sat in Snake's arms and used the light from the projector to look at his face that flickered between light and dark. That focused gaze was sharp and precise, like a snake that had locked on to its target in the dark. He was calm and at ease, exuding the unique confidence and aura of a superior, making others unable to help but admire him. And such an outstanding man was her boyfriend. Just thinking about it made Gu Mingming's little heart throb uncontrollably. How could she have the time to be bored? And Snake naturally did not ignore Gu Mingming's admiring gaze, or else he would not have allowed the meeting to continue until now. After all, he had opened the company to please her, not to make her suffer. Yeah, it seemed like the information in her memory was not all wrong. At least what she had said before, a man who works hard is the most attractive, was true. Lunch was takeaway ordered by the Secretary General. After a simple meal, another round of meetings started. Snake had to use a weekend to settle a week's worth of work, so the workload was very heavy. When they were about to leave at night, they realized that it had already started to rain. Snake drove from Monsieur Company's underground car park to the villa's underground car park. They did not need to use an umbrella and reached home safely. After entering, Snake held Gu Mingming's hand and sent her to the door of the room. With one arm around her waist and the other against the door, he leaned over and kissed her forehead, saying, "You must be exhausted today, right? Quickly go and rest." Gu Mingming nodded. Just as she was about to leave, she realized that Snake did not let go at all. Her entire body was encircled by his chest. How could she leave? Upon receiving Gu Mingming's questioning gaze, Snake pursed his lips and said, "I can't bear to let go. Why don't you invite me in for a cup of tea?" Gu Mingming chuckled. "How can I have tea in my room? You've been hugging me all day. Haven't you had enough? Let go of me." Snake took a deep breath and hugged Gu Mingming tightly. "Yeah, I'm used to hugging you for a day." As soon as I let go, I felt an emptiness in my arms. I felt uncomfortable. Gu Mingming pushed Snake's chest lightly. After hesitating for a moment, she took the initiative to kiss Snake's face and said, "All right, good night." With that, she ducked out from under Snake's arm, opened the door, returned to the room and closed the door. Sliding onto the floor against the door, Gu Mingming was still holding onto her heart that was beating out of rhythm, smiling secretly with a blushing face. Crack. Chapter 1107. Snake chuckled and his lips curled into a confident smile. He then knocked on the door and said, "Tu Ming, there's thunder, I'm scared." Gu Mingming couldn't help but laugh out loud at the door. She didn't open the door and just sat at the door and said, "You're a domineering CO and you're scared of thunder? I'm someone who went to primary school, don't lie to me." Snake squatted down outside the door and accurately placed his hand on the back of Gu Mingming's head through the door. He chuckled and said, "I'm your dog. Don't you feel heartache letting your pet face the thunder and lightning alone on a stormy night?" She still remembered this? "Tu Ming, did I tell you before? I have a spare key to every room?" Gu Mingming was stunned and turned to look at Snake through the door. It was as if Snake could feel her gaze through the door. He smiled and said, "Open the door yourself and accompany me as your pet." "I'll use the spare key to open the door and accompany you as my girlfriend." You know the difference between the two." Understood instantly, damn it. Gu Mingming was once again amazed at how she knew so much. Click. Gu Mingming gently turned the door handle and moved it a little. The door was opened a little, but it was enough to light up Snake's entire world. He pushed the door open and without another word, he pounced on Gu Mingming and kissed her carelessly. He said, "You actually locked your own dog outside the door. Heartless master, do you think I should bite you?" Don't, our Snake is the most obedient. Don't bite me." Gu Mingming admitted defeat. She could never get tired of hearing the term, "our Snake." His mood was great, but Snake wanted to bite her even more. After pondering for a while, he bit her little chin lightly and then hugged her in his arms. He said, "I'll let you off this time. Next time you lock me outside the door, I'll let you know how powerful your dog's teeth are." Not locking him outside the door, did that mean he could come in and stay as he pleased? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "That? I can't." Snake pinched her little face and said, "I especially don't like the way you shake your head at me. But, I just want to hug, nothing else." Snake said, "But if you reject me again? I might not be able to control myself and have you first. Then, tomorrow I will tie you up and bring you to Europe to get your marriage certificate. Well, you don't have to wait until you're 20 to get a license in Europe. You promise?" Gu Mingming knew Snake's capabilities well. He would definitely do what he said. Snake nodded and said cautiously, "Yes, I promise." Gu Mingming knew that there was no use in resisting, it would only make the outcome worse for her. Moreover, Snake had already promised and she believed that Snake would not go back on his words. So he nodded and said, "Then get up first, I'm going to wash up." Together. Snake flipped over and stood up before pulling Gu Mingming into his arms. Like Siamese twins, they entered the washroom to wash their pants together before returning to the bed to lie down. Before he switched off the lights, he planted a kiss on Gu Mingming's forehead and said affectionately, "Good night." Drawing a perfect end to this beautiful day. To Snakes, rainy days always made them feel happy. The fog gathered again and Gu Mingming looked at the screen disappearing behind the white fog. She laughed bitterly and said, "Snake is really, as domineering as usual. Aside from the topic, are you satisfied with the special Snake special that my babies have been waiting for?" Chapter 1108. The beast deity chuckled. Say, do you think there will be a mosaic in the next episode? Gu Mingming rolled her eyes at the beast deity. Is there any father who would discuss such content with his own daughter? The beast deity thought for a moment. That's true. For the sake of my daughter's mental and physical development, if there is really any inharmonious content, I will cut it off and not broadcast it. Gu Mingming held her forehead in exasperation. The beast deity pinched Gu Mingming's little face. All right, the drama is over. Tell me, why did you come to find me? Gu Mingming pursed her lips. She was a little shy. But she still told the beast deity about what Leah and Elvis were worried about. The beast deity chuckled. How can giving birth be painless? But you have Snake's power to protect you. You won't die. What are you afraid of? Don't be a coward. Just give birth. Gu Mingming sighed with a bitter expression. That's what I said too. But Elvis and Leah don't agree, then don't give birth. The beast deity said. Gu Mingming stared at the beast deity coldly. Father, can't you be more resolute? The beast deity shrugged. The beast father doesn't even want to keep the child. Why do you still insist on giving birth to his child? Gu Mingming lowered her head. I already owe the two of them in terms of relationships. I hope to make it up to them in other aspects. Elvis already has a nest of wolf cubs. If I don't give birth to a nest of fox cubs for Leah? The beast deity chuckled. He shook his head in exasperation. Other males try their best to coax their females to give birth to their cubs. Why is it the other way around for you? Gu Mingming was not annoyed by her father's mockery. She shook the beast deity's arm. Is there a way? Father, the beast deity sighed. There is a way. But you have to find it yourself. Gu Mingming looked at the beast deity in confusion. The beast deity said calmly, Love of the sky. Gu Mingming was taken aback. Her eyes dimmed. One of the 7 treasures? The beast deity nodded. The kiss of the ocean is tolerance. Soul of the forest is life. Gu Mingming continued the beast deity's words and said softly, Light means to dispel all darkness, including all pain, right? This concept was what Wang Xiaoxin had told Snake's father in his memory. The beast god nodded and said, Yes, if you could wear the love of the sky during labor, it wouldn't be so painful. Gu Mingming was a little dejected. She lowered her head and fiddled with her fingers. I don't want to gather all those things, Tisk. The beast deity placed his hand gently on Gu Mingming's shoulder and said, Even if they are all gathered, the final authority is still in your hands, understand? Gu Mingming nodded and said, I understand, let me think about it carefully. The beast deity did not say a word. He could provide help to Gu Mingming, but he could not dictate her decisions. After all, with his status, he could not interfere with the matters of the beast world. Gu Mingming took a deep breath and asked again, Then about Wabi? The beast deity continued shaking his head. Gu Mingming said, Yeah, I understand. I still can't say. Alright, I won't ask any more. I'll go back first. Chapter 1109. Whenever she woke up, she would always be faced with Elvis's concerned gaze. Gu Mingming remembered that Elvis had told her before that he would always feel uneasy whenever she went to see the beast deity. This kind of uneasiness was without reason, but Gu Mingming could not say that he was worrying for nothing. Sometimes a man's sixth sense was very accurate. What's wrong? Elvis asked as he helped Gu Mingming up. Before he finished his sentence, the cup of water was already at Gu Mingming's lips. Gu Mingming drank a mouthful of water, then sat up straight. She looked at Elvis, pursed her lips and hesitated for a while, but still called Leah over. The three of them sat facing each other before Gu Mingming said, I have to tell you something. Elvis asked softly. Gu Mingming took a deep breath and said, The beast deity told me that if I want to avoid the pain during childbirth, I just need to get the love of the sky. Li's smile obviously froze, his face full of disbelief. In order to not let Gu Mingming suffer, he had been trying his best to suppress his desire to have a child that belonged to him and her. Until now, he had accepted his fate and thought that he would never have a child of his own in this lifetime. But now he had a chance. This huge surprise made him dumbfounded at the moment. After a long while, he reached out his trembling hands to hold onto Gu Mingming's shoulders and said carefully, Mingming, don't lie to me about this. You know I can't take it. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, I won't lie to you and Elvis. Even if you don't blame me, I won't lie to you. Li's arm tightened, locking Gu Mingming in his embrace. It was a strength that made Gu Mingming almost suffocate, as if he wanted to rub her into his chest. Gu Mingming could feel Leah trembling. She could clearly feel his agitation. How was it that he did not care about having a child? How was it that he had never been envious of others? He was so envious that he almost went crazy. He wanted it so much that he was almost possessed. But because he could not bear for her to bear the pain of childbirth, he personally extinguished all his expectations, not even allowing a single smoke to rise. He was too good to her. In order to be good to her, he could be cruel to anyone, including himself. I'll find the love of the sky. After that, we'll have a nest of little foxes. You like the little foxes so much, I'll give you as many as you want. I won't disobey you anymore. Finally, I can give you everything you want. Ming, I've made you suffer these days because my attitude made you sad, right? Leah cupped Gu Mingming's little face and kissed it again and again, his heart aching for her. During this period of time, Gu Mingming had tried all sorts of ways to please him, coaxing and pestering him to give birth to a nest of little foxes. His heart ached when he saw her compromising look, but he could not bear to let her feel that pain once, so he kept rejecting her, avoiding her and even berating her. Every time he pushed her away, it was as painful as peeling off a layer of his own skin. But how could this kind of pain compare to the moment she frowned, which made him feel like a fishbone was stuck in his throat? Now, as long as he found the love of the sky, he would be able to love her as much as he wanted and would never have to push her away again. Mingming, why are you unhappy? Li's gaze landed on Gu Mingming's little face, which looked like she wanted to say something but stopped herself. She was clearly looking forward to having a nest of little foxes. Now that he had finally agreed, why did she look unhappy? Chapter 11:10. What's the matter? Leah held onto Gu Mingming's shoulders and asked. Gu Mingming took a deep breath and said, the tear of the beast deity, kiss of the ocean, love of the sky, soul of the forest, heart of the desert, spirit of the rocky cliffs and key of the beast king are the 7 treasures of the beast world. These 7 treasures are the divine items of the beast world. With any one of them, you can activate the bloodline of the beast king and dominate the beast world. If you gather all 7, you can open the doors of time and space. Elvis and Leah froze. The moment the words doors of time and space came out, it was as if everything in this world had frozen. Elvis and Leah even forgot to breathe and just stared at Gu Mingming blankly. In the next moment, the blood in their bodies boiled like white smoke rolling in ice. It looked surging, but there was no warmth at all, it was bone-chilling. Elvis scooped Gu Mingming into his arms and hugged her tightly. He clenched his teeth and could not say a word. His blood-red eyes widened, and in that instant, his eyeballs were filled with red veins. It was frighteningly hideous. Li's throat let out a low trembling cry. It was not anger or sadness, but the echo of an uncontrollable trembling under extreme fear. 4 words. Gu Mingming only used 4 words to scare the black and white duo that every tribe in the beast world feared so much that they felt chills all over their bodies and their souls left their bodies. No more, we won't give birth. Li's voice was full of determination and trembling. There was no hesitation at all. Nothing in this world could be compared to Gu Mingming, they did not even have the right to be compared. If he had to risk losing Gu Mingming to obtain something, he would rather destroy the world. He did not want anything but Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming sighed. She did not dare to say it all along because she was afraid that things would turn out like this. She thought that Elvis and Leah dared to let her enter the lake meant that they were not that afraid that she would leave. So, that person was already forcing himself to believe her. The words doors of time and space were still too serious for them. Hugging Elvis back gently, Gu Mingming said softly, don't panic, let me finish. His ears were ringing and his mind was filled with Gu Mingming's words, you can open the doors of time and space. The way she cried and said she wanted to leave, the way she smiled and thanked him before lying in the middle of the lake, the way she curled up in a corner and said she did not belong here, all he could think of was the way she wanted to abandon him. Fear, every inch of Elvis's nerves was telling him that he was extremely afraid. Even though he was holding her like this, he still couldn't shake off the fear of losing her in the next second. Gu Mingming knew that their emotions were fluctuating too much. She had tried to communicate with them several times but to no avail. They were so shocked by this news that they could not listen to anything else she said. Elvis hugged her tightly while Li's eyes were fixed on her. He felt as if the knife would disappear if he blinked. Gu Mingming sighed and patted Elvis's back lightly, calling him over and over again, hubby, hugging Gu Mingming until her entire body was numb. Elvis finally heard her calling and squeezed out a dry sound from his throat. Chapter 11:11. I know. It was just 3 simple words, but it was as if Elvis's entire chest had been torn apart. He knew, all his rationality told him that Gu Mingming would not leave him. They also had such blissful days, Huda and his brothers whom she cared about, Leah whom she liked, Sandy whom she cared about, but even though he knew, he still felt uneasy. Even though he was hugging her like this, he still felt that she could slip away from his fingers in the next second, just like a gust of wind, just like a handful of sand, just like the sunlight that could not be held back, just like the ocean waves that could not be held back. But I can't control myself, I'm still afraid. Gu Mingming held Elvis's face with both hands and kissed him deeply on the lips. Elvis was stunned at first, then he kissed her back crazily. If she wanted a kiss, he would give her the hottest kiss. He could satisfy all her needs, really. As long as she didn't leave, as long as she stayed, as long as she didn't abandon him, he could do anything, really. Really, Elvis's kiss was lingering, passionate and urgent. His uneasiness and desire were clearly conveyed to Gu Mingming through this kiss. Gu Mingming allowed him to entangle her tongue and only responded gently. She calmed his emotions slowly, softly and gently. The kiss lasted for a long time until Elvis finally calmed down. This kiss was only left with deep love. Gu Mingming then slowly let go of Elvis. Panting heavily like a fish on shore, her face flushed from lack of oxygen was filled with tenderness. She chuckled. Are you still afraid now? Elvis hesitated for a moment but still nodded. I'm afraid. Gu Mingming had no choice but to reach out a hand to Leah. Without hesitation, Leah held her little hand tightly in his palm. Gu Mingming's other hand was holding Elvis's. Both of them protected her in their palms, feeling that soft touch. They didn't dare to use too much force, afraid of hurting her, but they also didn't dare to let go, afraid that she would disappear. Gu Mingming took the initiative to hold their hands. Not only can you not leave me, I can't leave you too. I won't leave, I won't. Elvis and Leah nodded with much difficulty. Leah said, I always believe Mingming's words. No matter how uneasy he was, no matter how scared he was, as long as she said it, he would believe her. Elvis nodded and replied, Xiaoming, you can lie to me about anything but this. You must never go back on your word, understand? Gu Mingming nodded. Why don't I make an oath to the beast deity? No. Elvis and Leah replied in unison, you are not allowed to swear recklessly. Gu Mingming chuckled. Alright, I won't swear. But you have to believe me before I can continue. Elvis hesitated for a moment, then looked up at Gu Mingming and said firmly, Xiaoming, I want you to promise me. If one day you decide to leave, take me with you or kill me. And me, Leah said softly. Gu Mingming nodded helplessly. Alright, if I want to leave, I will definitely bring the two of you along. They were never afraid of death but losing her. With this promise, the two of them gradually calmed down. The worst outcome would be death, but before that, they would not lose her. Chapter 11:12. This could also be considered as good news. At least it eliminated the possibility of someone plotting against Gu Mingming to force her into that door. Gu Mingming continued, Among the 7 treasures I have the tear of the beast deity, Qixin has the soul of the forest and the kiss of the ocean. I don't know where the love of the sky, the heart of the desert and the spirit of the rocky cliffs are, but what I am really worried about is the key of the beast king. Leah frowned and said, You mean a child with the bloodline of the beast king? Gu Mingming nodded and said, Wang Xiaoxin wanted to use snake as the key of the beast king that year, so she found whales to mate with. Although the doors of time and space were not opened in the end, but Leah knew that there were some things that Gu Mingming could not say out loud, so he helped her to say, but the usage and activation methods of these 7 treasures have been passed down to the messenger's tribe, Sauter. The best proof is that Cole knew how to use the kiss of the ocean and the soul of the forest to save Qixin. So, you are worried that Cole will target your next child with the bloodline of the Beast King. You are afraid that what happened to Qixin will happen again, right? Gu Mingming nodded, indicating that what Leah said was exactly what she was worried about. One Qixin had already exhausted her. If Cole did the same thing and abducted another child from her, she would really break down. She was really afraid that when she was about to stab Cole's chest with her sharp blade, the one standing in front of her would not be an enemy, but her child. The simplest way is for you to not have any more children. In the end, the topic returned to this. Lee's emotions were very strange. From the start, he had been trying his best to suppress his desire to have a nest of children with the same bloodline as her. Then he completely destroyed this hope and then rekindled it. But now, he actually started to hate those children who had yet to appear. As long as they never appeared in this world, did that mean that he would not have to bear the risk of losing Gu Mingming? Anyway, Qixin had already been snatched back, so they did not need to pay Cole any ransom, right? Gu Mingming sighed and said, Leah? Lee's lips were pressed into a straight line. He did not say anything else and just avoided Gu Mingming's gaze. He did not want to anger Gu Mingming at this moment, not even the slightest bit. Gu Mingming tightened her grip on Lee's hand. Originally, after snatching Qishan back, I had planned to give up on searching for the 7 treasures. But now, I have a new idea. Elvis and Leah frowned, their palms sweaty and their lips tightly pursed. Gu Mingming knew what they were worried about, but the more she did not explain herself, the more uneasy they would be. She might as well state her thoughts clearly, she believed that they would understand. Chapter 11-13. Gu Mingming paused for a while before continuing. There is only one set of the 7 treasures in this world. As long as both of you use one each, then no one will be able to gather all of them to open the doors of time and space. Gu Mingming's words made sense. The tear of the beast deity was in Gu Mingming's body. If Elvis and Leah used the heart of the desert and the spirit of the rocky cliffs to activate the Beast King bloodline, then anyone who wanted to open the doors of time and space could only choose to kill the 3 of them to obtain the 7 treasures. One Beast King could already look down on the entire beast world. When 3 Beast Kings gathered together, it would basically be the game mode of a pay-to-win warrior. They could ask arrogantly, who else? The iron triangle formed by Gu Mingming, Elvis and Leah was the most indestructible and stable relationship in the beast world. It was impossible to destroy them one by one. No matter which one of them was attacked, the other 2 would definitely come to their rescue immediately. So, it was simply a fool's dream to think of obtaining the 7 treasures from them. Once Gu Mingming voiced out her idea, Elvis and Leah immediately exchanged glances and their eyes lit up. That's right, their rationality had been blown away by the news of Gu Mingming will leave. They could not think of anything and fell into a huge whirlpool. But in a crisis, danger and opportunity coexisted. As long as they could snatch the remaining 3 treasures before Cole finished setting them up, they would have the upper hand and gained an absolute advantage. Even if they could only grab 2, it could be said to be an absolute advantage. Elvis circled his arms around Gu Mingming's waist and hugged her lightly. He kissed her forehead. Ever since I met you, I've started to be overcautious. I've even forgotten that taking the initiative is my style. Li's thoughts were more meticulous and persistent. He brought Gu Mingming's little hand to his lips and kissed it. Leave this to me. Gu Mingming nodded and replied, yeah. For the past 2 years, Leah and Elvis had been keeping a low profile and only focused on Gu Mingming. They just wanted to live their simple lives in peace and had long forgotten their grand ambition of uniting the beast world for so many years. However, even if they did not cause trouble, trouble would never let them go. Blindly avoiding them didn't seem to be able to keep the peace. Since that was the case, why not make a big fuss? If their family of 3 became Beast Kings, they would like to see who would dare to play tricks in front of them. This night, Leah and Elvis could not sleep for the first time in a long time. Not worry but excitement. The 7 treasures, which he had always rejected, suddenly became something that he had to obtain. They wanted to make Gu Mingming stay and ensure that no one in this world would dare to be presumptuous in front of her. Obtaining the 7 treasures seemed to be a way to settle things once and for all. The next day, after Gu Mingming woke up, Elvis and Leah decided to go out at the same time. Elvis continued to stock up on food for the winter while Leah made arrangements to search for the 7 treasures. At that moment, Gu Mingming was not used to being alone like this. In the past, one of them would always be by her side. The pot was filled with the meat that Leah had cooked and Gu Mingming scooped a bowl for herself. Gu Mingming was the only one at the 6-seater table. I used to eat alone, so I didn't think there was any problem. Only now did he understand that solitude was also a luxury because first he had to experience being accompanied and cared for. Chapter 11-14. Mandy? Gu Mingming was rather surprised because the 16 valued females had a kind of adoration towards her that was similar to fans towards their idols. They liked her very much but did not dare to get close to her. Unless Gu Mingming took the initiative, they would always approach her, as if they were afraid of causing trouble for her. Mandy placed her hands behind her back and appeared rather uneasy. She took small steps towards Gu Mingming and said, "When the great witch doctor went to look for Ian in the morning, he said that I can come and play with you." Play with a child? Gu Mingming chuckled and looked at Mandy like a child who had received candy, as if playing with her was a reward. Actually, her fox was just afraid that she would be bored at home alone, so he sent Mandy over to accompany her, right? Gu Mingming took a bowl and handed it to Mandy, asking, "Have you eaten breakfast?" Mandy shook her head, blushing slightly. "I was preparing to eat when the great witch doctor went over, but he said that he had prepared a lot of food for you in the morning and that I can come and eat with you. So, although our Ralph learned some cooking methods from Great Leah, the taste is not that great. So." Mandy instinctively swallowed her saliva. She looked at the big pot of fragrant stewed meat on the table in front of Gu Mingming, her eyes filled with desire. Gu Mingming waved her hand and said, "It's good that you haven't eaten yet, come and eat with me." MMM. Mandy agreed readily and happily sat down diagonally opposite Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming chuckled. The smell left behind by Elvis and Leah on the stone bench was a declaration that this was the master's seat and she could not sit there. And the seat diagonally opposite Gu Mingming was the one that Wabiai had sat on before. The smell was also very domineering and Gu Mingming was probably the only one in the beast world who had the guts to sit there. And the seat diagonally opposite was more fluid. Oriton, Barit, Ian, Fei Rue and the other guests had all sat there before, so Mandy automatically sat there. Gu Mingming did not say anything and just scooped a big ladle of meat into Mandy's bowl. "Lee's cooking is especially good. More." Mandy smiled sweetly. She took the bowl from Gu Mingming and took a bite before letting out a satisfied sigh. Gu Mingming could clearly see the word happiness on her face. As Mandy ate, she said to Gu Mingming, "Great messenger, I heard the witch doctor ask Ian something about the love of the sky when I left. Ian didn't seem to want to talk about it." Gu Mingming paused and looked up at Mandy. "You have already mated with Ian?" Mandy smiled shyly and nodded. "Yes, we did it the day before yesterday." As she spoke, Mandy turned around. Between her two shoulder blades was a soaring eagle owl. It looked as if it was passing through a mountain stream, its gaze sharp and unstoppable. This was probably his most confident appearance. Gu Mingming chuckled. Congratulations." Mandy smiled sweetly and said, "I still have to thank the great messenger for this matter. If you hadn't agreed, Ian would definitely have rejected me. On the day of mating, Ian told me that he had actually liked me long ago. However, as the previous master of the Eagle Owl tribe, he had responsibilities and obligations that he could not shirk from. Hence, he could only suppress his feelings and said that he had wronged me. He even apologized to me." Chapter 11:15. Mandy immediately became nervous. She pursed her lips and asked timidly, "Great messenger, are you angry at him?" Gu Mingming smiled and shook her head. "I usually rebuke him on the spot. I won't settle scores with him later." Mandy heaved a sigh of relief. That's good. I was still worried. Ian was different from the other males in the beast world. He was probably the only one who would rebuke Gu Mingming other than Wabiai. He was not afraid of her strength and identity like most males, nor was he blindly subservient like those males who had special thoughts about her. His loyalty could be compared to Barit's, but he would not treat her in a state of absolute obedience like Barit. Ian was the type who would help you even if he rebuked you. He was the type who would do anything for you while scolding you. Gu Mingming had thought that Ian would not say any sweet nothings with his sarcastic mouth. She did not expect him to apologize. Looking at Mandy's bashful expression, she must have been flirted with quite a bit. "Jeske, you bird. You still have two faces." However, Gu Mingming did not expose Ian. After all, Mandy's family was different from hers and Sandy's. Mandy's family already had 27 partners. Under such intense competition as a bad friend, good friend, Gu Mingming naturally could not be a burden to Ian. "Did you just say that Leah went to find Ian to ask about the love of the sky?" Gu Mingming changed the topic. Mandy nodded. "Yes, but Ian seemed to be avoiding it and did not want to talk about it." Yeah, it was naturally the right thing to ask someone who could fly about the sky. Ian's attitude was that he did not want to talk about it, not that he did not know. That meant that Leah did not find the wrong person. With Ian's brain, how long could he last under Lee's hands? Yeah, it had been a long time since she saw the black-bellied Leah online. Gu Mingming suddenly pitted Ian. "Is the love of the sky what the great messenger is looking for?" Mandy tilted her head and asked. Gu Mingming nodded as an answer. Mandy smiled and said, "Then I'll go back and help the Lord Messenger persuade Ian to tell the witch doctor everything he knows." Gu Mingming put down her chopsticks and looked at Mandy. "Mandy, why don't you just call me by my name like Sandy? Great messenger, it sounds so awkward." Can I?" Mandy's eyes lit up. She felt like a little fan who had suddenly gotten her idol's private WeChat ID. Gu Mingming nodded. "Yeah, of course." "Oh, Mingming?" Mandy's eyes sparkled as her lips curled up uncontrollably. She called out Gu Mingming's name softly. "Yeah." Gu Mingming responded, nodding and smiling. Mandy held her face in her hands and screamed. Just like a fan." Gu Mingming was actually quite surprised. After all, Mandy had joined Saint Nazir for more than a year. Chapter 11:16. Mandy ran off in a flash and Gu Mingming could not stop her in time. Shaking her head in exasperation, Gu Mingming let her be. After Mandy's antics, Gu Mingming's unfamiliarity with being alone faded away. After clearing the bowls and chopsticks, Gu Mingming returned to the cave to retrieve 2 pieces of snake skin. Wabiai had brought them for her so that she could change into 2 sets of clothes. But the snake skin on her body belonged to Snake and she did not want to take it off, so these 2 pieces of snake skin had been left unused. Now they could be put to use. The wooden pail that Fei Rui had helped Gu Mingming wash was already completely dry. Gu Mingming tied the snake skin loosely to the wooden pail to act as a strainer, then opened the seal of the stone basin. She used a large stone bowl to pour the fermented grape juice onto the snake skin, filtering the juice before placing the pulp at one side. Gu Mingming slowly poured the juice into the 9 large basins. By the time she poured the 3rd basin, Elvis and Leah had already returned. The moment they entered the cave, the 2 of them were taken aback. Elvis went forward to carry Gu Mingming while Leah took the large stone bowl from her. "Why didn't you wait for us to come back and let us do it?" Leah asked as he copied Gu Mingming's actions of pouring the grape juice onto the snake skin and filtering it into the wooden pail. Elvis grabbed Gu Mingming's little hand and placed it into his mouth, licking the sticky juice off her fingers. Gu Mingming giggled from the itch. "Anyway, it's boring to stay home alone, so I did something to pass the time. So, I will go wash my hands." But Elvis did not let go. He tightened his grip on Gu Mingming's waist. "I can lick it cleaner than you can wash it." Gu Mingming looked at Elvis speechlessly. "Stop fooling around." Elvis gently bit Gu Mingming's fingertip. "I haven't seen you for an entire morning. Be good and let me get closer to you." "Dirty." Gu Mingming blushed. But Elvis laughed. He kissed Gu Mingming's little face. "My xiaoming is so delicious, how can it be dirty?" With that, he sent Gu Mingming's little hand, which was stained with grape juice, into his mouth. He sucked and sucked, his deep gaze fixated on Gu Mingming's face, making her blush. However, Elvis seemed to be infatuated with the feeling of teasing her so much that she felt shy and at a loss for what to do. The more he sucked, the more exaggerated it became. In the end, it felt like an action movie. Gu Mingming quickly retracted her hand, her face so red that it looked like blood was about to drip out. Not daring to look at Elvis again, she could only change the topic to Leah. "Mandy came to have breakfast with me this morning and said that you went to look for Ian to ask about the love of the sky?" Leah nodded. "Yeah, I just wanted to give it a try. My luck is not bad, he must know. But he doesn't want to say?" Leah nodded and replied, Then, seeing that the wooden barrel was already filled to the brim, he removed the snake slough and used the sealed lid that Gu Mingming had prepared beforehand to cover the wooden barrel. He moved it to the other 2 wooden barrels that were already filled and said, "Have lunch first, I will do the rest after I finish cooking." "Actually, I can do it." Leah pressed Gu Mingming's hand to his lips and kissed it. "Your males are still alive. How can I bear to let you use this pair of beautiful hands to work? Don't make my heart ache. Be obedient, Gu Mingming was helpless. She mumbled softly, "I will be groomed into a useless piece of trash by you guys sooner or later." Aside from the topic. "Alright, today's update has ended, see you tomorrow. Remember to leave a message with 5 stars. Then remember to hand over the tickets if you have them." Chapter 11:17. Hearing Gu Mingming's complaints, Leah smiled instead. He pinched Gu Mingming's little nose. "It would be best if we can pamper you so much that you can't even breathe when you leave us. That way, I won't have to worry about you suddenly disappearing." TSK. Gu Mingming wrinkled her nose. She didn't insist on filtering the grape juice herself. Leah transformed his hands into claws and then back into hands. His hands were so clean that they were not stained by dirt. When the sunlight shone on them, it was as if his skin had been tanned until it became transparent, giving off a pinkish glow. Gu Mingming didn't have a hand fetish, but she really liked Leah and Elvis's hands. Both of their hands looked especially nice. If their fingers were intertwined, that would be an extremely beautiful scene. Thinking about that, Gu Mingming sniffed instinctively. She mustn't have a nosebleed again. Otherwise, she didn't know how the 2 of them would deal with her. Not long after lunch, Mandy dragged Ian to Gu Mingming's cave. Gu Mingming looked at the solemn Ian and Mandy, who kept urging them, and roughly understood what was going on. Ian looked at Gu Mingming for a long time. "Must you find the love of the sky?" Gu Mingming thought for a moment before nodding. Ian looked at Mandy again. In the end, he couldn't resist her nagging. "Then find a male from the bird tribe to be your partner." Ah. Gu Mingming was shocked. Luckily, Ian had already mated with Mandy. Otherwise, Leah and Elvis would probably be strangling him by now. Ian pulled Mandy to sit at the long table at the entrance of Gu Mingming's cave. He stood behind her and placed his hands on her shoulders. His face was filled with helplessness. I heard that the love of the sky is on the highest peak of the Moda Mountains. That place is so tall that it pierces the clouds and is abnormally steep. Ordinary orcs can't even reach that height. Even birds may not be able to fly up to that height. The Eagle Owl tribe used to be one of the birds guarding the mountain. But because the climate was too harsh and it was difficult for them to reproduce, the number of females in the tribe decreased until none were left. Ian remained silent for a long time before continuing. The Eagle Owl tribe is a tribe that guards the lower altitudes of the Moda Mountains. As the guardians, we have never flown to the peak of the mountains. Even if he tried his best, he could only fly halfway up the mountain. So, if you want to go to Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky, you must first find a vulture as a partner. Apart from them, there was no other race in this world that could fly so high. However, the vulture race prided themselves on being the people closest to the sky. They were even more arrogant than normal birds and would definitely not come down from the Moda Mountains to approach the land beasts. So, it's basically impossible for you to find a vulture as a partner. This was a vicious cycle. If you wanted to go up the Moda Mountains, you would need a vulture to fly you up. But vultures could only be found on the Moda Mountains. Since the Eagle Owl tribe used to guard the mountain, they should be very familiar with them, right? Can't you accompany me and pass the message? Gu Mingming asked. Ian's face darkened and the emotions in his eyes were hard to decipher. His brows were tightly furrowed as if he was holding back something. After a long time he finally spoke. In order not to be exterminated, I brought my tribesmen to seek refuge in St. Nazir. This is equivalent to betraying all the guardians of the Moda Mountains. They will not leave the Moda Mountains to chase after us. But if we go any closer to the Moda Mountains, all the birds on the mountain will attack together and tear the people from the Eagle Owl tribe into pieces. Digression. Do you remember my babies? We have an explosive update on the 24th. At midnight that day, there will be at least 100,000 words of updates. She just held her chin and looked at Ian asking, Is Moda Mountains far? How long does it take from St. Nazir? Ian said, It took us 9 days to get here. If we travel on foot, it will take at least half a month. Gu Mingming's fingers tapped lightly on the edge of the table. Half a month. Just the journey back and forth would take a month. Almost half of the rainy season had passed. If they left now, they would definitely not be able to return before winter. Chapter 11:19. All right. It was a simple word, but it carried the weight of a promise. Ian did not know what position Gu Mingming held in his heart. Was she the messenger of the beast deity respected by the Eagle Owl tribe and even the entire beast deity, or was she a friend whom he could sacrifice for? He only knew that Gu Mingming was a very special existence. No matter what happened during normal times, as long as she said the word, he would risk his life to accompany her without a second word. With the matter settled, Ian did not stay any longer. He held Mandy's shoulders and said, Let's go back first, don't disturb others' meals. Mandy looked at the meat in Gu Mingming's pot with envy. She had wanted to eat more in the morning, but in order to help Gu Mingming persuade Ian, she only ate a small bowl before leaving. Now, that pot of meat might not even be enough for Leo or Elvis, so she was too embarrassed to stay for a free meal. She stood up and followed Ian out. After 2 steps, she stopped and turned back to look at Gu Mingming. She called out softly, Gu Mingming. Mmmm? Gu Mingming looked up at Mandy, using a single room to ask her what was the matter. But Mandy smiled brightly and waved. I'm leaving, goodbye. Oh. Gu Mingming was at a loss. Then she heard Mandy say to Ian in a soft but excited voice, Did you see that? I called the great messenger's name and she answered me. A crow flew past Gu Mingming's head, leaving behind 6 large dots. After Ian and Mandy left, Leah took over the bowl and chopsticks from Gu Mingming's hands. He put down the chopsticks and changed to a small spoon to feed Gu Mingming personally. Elvis lifted her by the waist and Gu Mingming fell into his arms. The stance, there was a demonic aura. Leah looked at Gu Mingming with a grin. Mingming, do you think our family will have a new member soon? Gu Mingming instinctively rubbed her tummy. Not so soon. If I don't get the love of the sky, will the 2 of you make me pregnant? Elvis held Gu Mingming's hand that was on his tummy. Don't act dumb. Children are never considered family members. Why? Gu Mingming slammed the table and exploded. Why couldn't her child be considered a member of her family? Was there still justice in this world? Elvis chuckled, rubbing her little head and comforting her, because when they grow up, they will mate with other females and form a family. They cannot stay in our family forever, so children cannot be considered as family members. Gu Mingming thought about it. Yeah, she treasured her son, but she was not so perverted as to not allow her son to get married and tie him to her side to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Sai, the pig that he raised, would eventually have to steal someone else's cabbages. He had to accept this as soon as possible. Gu Mingming nodded and said with a little melancholy, "Oh, so our family only consists of you, me and Leah." Facing Gu Mingming's disappointment, Leah raised his eyebrows. His expression did not change as he continued to smile amicably. "Yeah, there are only 3 of us. It's a little too small, right?" Gu Mingming nodded instinctively. She had originally thought that her family was rather strong. With her, Elvis, Leah, Hudda and his brothers, there would be even more little foxes and wolves in the future. However, it turned out that her son could not even be considered a member of her family. How depressing. Chapter 11:20. Her hair stood on end. For the first time, Gu Mingming felt that Li's smile was too scary. She shook her head. "No, I don't want to take in a vulture as a partner." Leah chuckled. "That's right. The vultures live in the harsh Mota Mountains all year round. Their bodies are naturally stronger than ours. Moreover, they can fly. Apart from your beast pressure, no one can push them down from the sky at that height. So even if we challenge them to become partners, Elvis and I may not be their match. Moreover, if you fancy one, Elvis and I can become partners without the challenge." Gu Mingming cupped Li's face and stopped him from speaking more and more exaggeratedly. "I don't want to become partners with a vulture. You are thinking too much." Li's mouth was pinched into a fish's mouth by Gu Mingming. His bewitching eyes matched with his adorable lips gave off a conflicting sense of cuteness. Gu Mingming smacked her lips and kissed him. "Don't think too much. You and Elvis are enough for me. Our family doesn't need other males." Li's temper melted from the kiss. His tone unknowingly softened. "The vultures rarely go down the mountains, but that doesn't mean they have never gone down before. In the past 1,000 years, they once went down to Sauter to meet the leader at that time. No one knows what they talked about then. But the vulture's looks were described vividly." Leah gently pressed down Gu Mingming's little hand that was pinching his face and said, "His long brown hair is like the flowing water of an ancient lake. His slender and muscular physique is a perfect work of art forged by the harsh climate of the Mota Mountains. It is forged by the cold winds above the clouds and has its own lofty and unyielding character. They walk calmly in the Sauter tribe. That is because they have no fear because of their power. Just a glance from their sharp eyes would make others shudder in fear. They would automatically retreat and try to find a place to hide themselves." With that, Leah sighed. "The Snow Fox tribe is such a proud tribe. How good-looking must they be to be able to pass down such a legend for hundreds of years? Ming, I suddenly have no confidence in my own appearance. What if you really fancy a male vulture?" Gu Mingming shook her head and sighed. "Didn't you confidently tell me that there is no one better looking than you in this world and that I should just look at you? Why are you saying this now?" Leah glanced sideways and said worriedly, "Back then, I felt that the vultures never set foot on land and you would never see them, so I was naturally the best looking." "Who knew?" Sigh. Gu Mingming leaned forward and kissed Li's face, saying, "No matter how they look like, in my heart, you and Elvis are nothing. You said it yourself." Leah peeked at Gu Mingming from the corner of his eye and said proudly, Yes, I will." Gu Mingming smiled helplessly before snuggling back into Elvis's arms. "Hubby say, since the vultures are so powerful, why don't we bring them all back to St. Nazir after we get the kiss of the sky? Just like the Eagle Owl tribe, they can be incorporated into our air force." No. Elvis's rejection was resolute, without a trace of hesitation. Chapter 11:21. "I haven't forgotten how you drooled and acted like a hooligan when you first saw my human form." Elvis pinched Gu Mingming's little face. "What did you say then? Touch and kiss me even at the risk of drowning, mm?" Gu Mingming laughed dryly. "Don't mention the past. Let it go with the wind." But Elvis did not buy it. He continued to smile coldly and continued, "You've said it yourself, you're a veteran member of the Appearance Association and your motto is Appearance is Justice. You're handsome, so whatever you say is right." Gu Mingming was speechless. How could she reveal all her secrets? Tsk. She felt good just because of her cheap mouth, but she regretted it the moment she said it. "So, do you think I will allow a tribe whose looks gave Leah such a sense of danger to join St. Nazir and create a destructive crisis for myself?" Gu Mingming shook her head. "No." Elvis chuckled. He tapped Gu Mingming's little nose in approval. "So smart. Gu Mingming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hubby, I have to clarify something. I treated you that way because I was single at that time. Flirting with a handsome guy while single is not called acting like a hooligan. It's called creating an opportunity for love. Yeah, Leah and I have already grasped the opportunity you gave us, so we don't want to give it to anyone else, Elvis said softly. Gu Mingming was exasperated. I already have a partner. I won't give anyone else such an opportunity. Elvis stared into Gu Mingming's eyes. After a long while he smiled. I know what you said is true. I don't need the vulture tribe to verify it for me. I will block all temptations for you. You just have to continue liking Leah and me. Gu Mingming facepalmed. She felt that her image was hopeless. Leah and Elvis were sure that she was a female demon who lusted after men. Sigh, forget it. She wasn't wronged. After all, even if time could be turned back to the past, she would still act like a hooligan towards Elvis. Otherwise, wouldn't such a good husband be someone else's now? How could that work? Gu Mingming realized that Elvis was usually a man of few words, but when faced with such a situation, both his EQ and EQ would immediately come online to block her. But forget it, she did not have any other thoughts anyway. Whatever he said, it would only make things worse if they continued discussing. In the end, Elvis was certain that she was looking for a male vulture as a partner. But the heavens had pity on her. She had not even seen a single strand of hair from the vulture tribe, and she had already been made into a scandal. She felt even more wronged than doughy. Leah tapped the area between Gu Mingming's brows. That smile clearly indicated that he and Elvis had the same thoughts and rejected Gu Mingming's suggestion. Gu Mingming wrinkled her nose and made a funny face at Leah, not saying a word. Leah said, the problem now is how to reach the highest peak of the Moda Mountains. Chapter 11:22. Since they could not ask the beast deity, the problem of how to ascend the mountain became a dilemma. But luckily they still had a whole winter to slowly think about it, so they were not in a hurry to come up with an answer. The rainy season in St. Nazaire was extremely busy. Males and families hunted and preserved meat in a frenzy, while those that did not mate would follow Barit and Oriton out to search for the potatoes, sweet potatoes and lotus roots that Gu Mingming had taught everyone before. The rest of them tanned beast skins and divided them according to their grades, before distributing them equally to all the females in St. Nazaire. Gu Mingming had brought everyone to do it once during the winter 2 years ago. Although Gu Mingming was not around last year, there were many old tribesmen in St. Nazaire, so they did not delay the preparation of supplies while defending against the enemies. This year, everyone was more experienced. With Gu Mingming holding the fort at home, Elvis traversing through the territory, and Leah strategizing in the tribe, everything was more orderly. Ever since Gu Mingming made Mandy call her by her name, Mandy seemed to be hooked by her soul, running over to Gu Mingming's place every day. There was nothing special, just following behind Gu Mingming to watch others preserve meat or give pointers on how to prepare and store vegetables. Counting the days, first snow should be here soon. Gu Mingming was sitting at the entrance of the cave, looking up at the sky when she saw an eagle owl flying close to the ground. When it reached Gu Mingming, it transformed into a human and said, "Great messenger, Frankston's witch Dr. Joshua wishes to see you." Joshua? Gu Mingming thought for a while and asked, "What is he here for?" The eagle owl shook its head and said, "I don't know, he won't tell me even if I ask him. He only said that he wishes to see the great messenger and won't leave until he sees you." Gu Mingming originally wanted to say that the witch doctor could look for him if he had something to do, but thinking about how Leah was already having a hard time arranging the distribution of resources for the winter, and also having to worry about obtaining the love of the sky from Mota Mountains, as well as being on guard against Cole's interference, even the smartest person would be exhausted. She sighed and said, "Ask him to come in." Yes. The eagle owl bowed, then transformed into a beast and flew against the wind. Not long later, Joshua appeared in front of Gu Mingming. To be honest, Gu Mingming was stunned by this first-level ape. Not because he looked outstanding but because he was wearing clothes. Yes, clothes. It was not the beast-skin skirt that Elvis and Leah usually wore, nor was it the strange clothes that Leah wore during the ritual. Instead, it was a simple long robe. Judging from the material, it was made of deerskin. Calling it a robe would be an exaggeration. His Mingming was too outstanding. What should he do if she could win over both genders? He had finally gotten rid of Sandy with much difficulty, and now there was Mandy. Could it be that those with Mandy in their names all had a special liking for his Mingming? TSK, as expected, she could not leave Gu Mingming's side with Elvis, or else it would be hard to guard against her. Chapter 1125. Leah didn't tell Gu Mingming which 4 drugs he had applied on Joshua's body, and Gu Mingming didn't press him. Gu Mingming didn't have any special feelings for Joshua, so she didn't want to give him any hope. Turning a blind eye was the most heartless and appropriate method. There were many things to settle in the tribe, especially after confirming that they were going to the Mota Mountains during the monsoon season. Leah had even more things to settle. But everything he did was for Gu Mingming. If he neglected Gu Mingming because of those things, wouldn't he be putting the cart before the horse? In his eyes, nothing was more important than Gu Mingming. So since he was back, Leah didn't plan on going out again. He just sat at the entrance and started curing the meat like the other males. After all, if he didn't do it, Gu Mingming had to do it. Elvis, the great god of dark cooking, was forbidden from touching any food that wasn't edible. And he couldn't bear to part with Gu Mingming's hands rubbing the coarse salt crystals. Seeing that Leah was preparing the food, Gu Mingming automatically stood behind him and massaged his shoulders. "You must be exhausted after so many things happened recently?" Leah enjoyed Gu Mingming's service and smiled. "The most tiring thing is that I can't look at you every day. I have to resist the urge to leave everything behind and come back. It's so tiring. But winter is coming soon. By then, I will have nothing to do and just have to look at you every day." Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Lee's shoulders from behind and rested her chin on his neck. "In the blink of an eye, this is the 3rd winter we have spent together." Leah shook his head. "The first." Gu Mingming didn't understand. Leah said, "In the first year you mated with Elvis and I was an outsider. In the second year you circled around Xianxia for the entire winter. Elvis and I were both outsiders. This year you have to focus on accompanying the 2 of us. After all, this is the first winter for the 3 of us as a family of 3. Gu Mingming chuckled. "All right, we will stay in the cave for the entire winter. I will accompany the 2 of you." Leah nodded and said, "Elvis and I have already expanded the layout of the cave. Before winter, that stone table will be moved into the cave. The storage room has also been expanded to make it easier for you to throw potatoes at us. The floor is also covered with soft new soil, so you won't trip or hurt your feet when you chase after us." Gu Mingming was taken aback. "Why would I throw potatoes at you?" Leah glanced sideways with a tinge of disappointment in his eyes. "You won't be screwed up this year?" Gu Mingming blinked her eyes and looked at Leah in confusion. Leah sighed. "I was very envious at that time. I thought I would finally have the chance to be smashed by you this year." "That year?" Chapter 1126. Yeah, Gu Mingming remembered this. Leah had always been envious of all the little things she did to Elvis before they became partners, like twisting his ears, smashing potatoes, until now, this fellow would still shake his furry beast ears from time to time, looking at her with an expectant gaze, asking if she wanted to twist his ears. That year of broken roots and broken threads must have really tortured Leah badly, right? She reached out her little hand and rubbed Lee's ears. Then she chuckled. "Domestic violence is not acceptable. In the past, I smashed Elvis because I was a weakling. Even if I used all my strength to hit him, I could not hurt him much. But now it's different. If I make a mistake, you or Elvis will be hurt. I'm a strong Gu Mingming now, I can't hit anyone as I please." Leah pulled Gu Mingming's little hand that was rubbing his ears and kissed it. "Silly girl, in Elvis's and my world, you are never a weakling. If you want to hurt us, you don't need to use your fists. Just one look from you can push us into hell or pull us back to the human world. One word from you can kill me on the spot or bring me back to life." Gu Mingming pecked Lee's lips. Then she smiled sweetly. "My hubby has such a sweet mouth." A numbness spread throughout Lee's entire body. She often called Elvis's hubby, but this was the first time she called him hubby. This form of address was set after Snake snatched the title of boyfriend. But she had never called him that before. The first time she heard it, her heart trembled. He hugged her tightly in his arms and kissed her again. "Call me that again. Hubby." Gu Mingming nestled in Lee's arms obediently. Her face was pinkish, making one feel pity for her. Leah hugged Gu Mingming and asked her to call him hubby time and time again. Every time she called him that, he had to kiss her a few times to stop the itch in his heart. Just like that, they spent the entire afternoon until Oriton returned with Elvis in the evening carrying his hunted prey. Elvis took Gu Mingming from Lee's arms and hugged her. He took 2 deep breaths of the air that carried her scent, then looked at Leah and said, "I heard that monkey came to confess to Xiaomeng?" Leah nodded. "Don't worry, I've already dealt with it." "Yes." Elvis curled his lips in approval before continuing, "Including today's harvest, we should have more or less stocked up on our prey for winter. From tomorrow onwards I'll stay at home to accompany Xiao Meng. You can go and do your work." Leah nodded and did not speak. They all knew that what Leah needed to do was not to manage the tribe, but to go to the Mota Mountains during the rainy season. "Same old rules, you're in charge of thinking, I'll be in charge of using my hands," Elvis added. Leah chuckled and raised his brows. "I feel like I'm at a disadvantage now. Because every time there's a mistake you'll push the blame to me, saying he's the one who came up with the idea. I'm only responsible for beating him. Tiske, why don't you be responsible for thinking and I'll do it?" Elvis smiled. "I'm the first partner. My arrangements are the rules." Leah shook his head helplessly and muttered, "Cunning." Chapter 11:27. Gu Mingming shook her head. The storage room in the cave had already expanded by more than 3 times. In the first year, Gu Mingming knew that in order to ensure that she had sufficient food, Elvis and Leah ate very little as long as it could sustain their lives. Last year he was led by the nose by coal to solder for the winter, and Elvis did not have time to prepare too much. Luckily, he had the help of the 3 little ones and the food was still sufficient. This year, Elvis was practically risking his life. He could not wait to slaughter all the prey he could see and bring them back. Now that the cave was filled to the brim, even if the family of 3 ate to their heart's content, they would not be able to finish so much food during the winter. What else did she want? Nothing, there was really nothing else. In the next few days, Leah left early in the morning and returned late at night, looking travel-worn. Gu Mingming's heart ached for him to travel back and forth. She said that she could cook for herself during this period of time and asked Leah not to prepare 3 meals for her daily. After all, Leah could settle his meals in the wild on the spot. With less cooking time he could rest for a while longer. But Leah did not agree. He just hugged her and said, "These 3 meals a day are my excuse to catch my breath. If I don't use this reason to come back to see you, I might not be able to persevere through this tiring day." Gu Mingming's heart was filled with sweetness, but she could not bear for him to suffer. So she said that she would prepare the 3 meals in the future and he could come back to eat with her. But Leah held onto her little hand and said, "Silly girl, your male is still alive, why should he let you suffer?" Her rebuttal was futile. Leah still came back on time to prepare 3 meals every day. After taking care of Gu Mingming's daily needs, he hurriedly went back to work. The weather was getting colder. Even without a calendar, one could feel that winter was about to arrive. Mingming. Leah took out a piece of beast skin and draped it over Gu Mingming's shoulders. Then he hugged her shoulders and kissed her forehead, saying, "It's going to be winter soon. Should we hold a bonfire party to liven things up?" Gu Mingming did not understand. Everyone was busy preparing food. Who would have the time to hold a bonfire party? Leah said, "Saint Nazir was not peaceful at this time last year. This year, with you back at the helm, no one would dare to cause trouble. However, the clansmen are more or less traumatized. When I saw Maya yesterday, she was still saying that she had a feeling that in the next second, an enemy would suddenly rush in to steal their food and kill their males." Maya? Gu Mingming thought for a while. She had almost forgotten about this female. Maya had always been on good terms with Nina. She had watched coldly as Nina bullied Sandy for many years. Later, when he came and Nina lost her power, Maya had distanced herself from Nina and started hanging out with them. He had originally thought that females were precious and did not want Saint Nazir to be in a state of chaos, so naturally, he did not have any feelings for her. They lived in the same tribe, but they were not close. Mingming. Leah hooked Gu Mingming's chin, his long and narrow eyes meeting Gu Mingming's. A hint of a sly smile entered her eyes. His thin lips curved up as he said in a low voice, "I want you to tell Maya that you want a male vulture as a partner. During the rainy season, we will go to the Mota Mountains to hunt for treasures." Chapter 11:28. Leah looked at Gu Mingming and inched his face closer, saying, "Kiss me and I will tell you." Gu Mingming did not act pretentiously and kissed Leah's face, saying, "Yeah, tell me." Leah held up Gu Mingming's little face and kissed her left and right, before replying in satisfaction, using her mouth to pass a message to someone. Someone? Gu Mingming did not understand. Leah looked up at the sky with a cold smile on his lips. He caressed Gu Mingming's palm with his fingers and said in a seemingly nonchalant manner, "To see someone in pain, the easiest way is to give him hope and then ruthlessly extinguish it. In the past few years he never got tired of giving me a support when I was in the mud, then taking it away the moment I stood up, watching me fall back into the mud." With that, Gu Mingming immediately understood who someone was referring to. Frowning, Gu Mingming asked softly, You mean Maya is Cole's woman? Leah glanced sideways and chuckled at Gu Mingming's big clear eyes, saying, I really love your ignorant look. Gu Mingming snorted in disdain, but Leah rubbed Gu Mingming's little head and said, I am serious, this world is too ugly, you don't need to know or think about those filthy things, just leave it to Elvis and me to handle it. You just maintain this innocence and just watch as Elvis and I clean up the world for you. With that, Leah held the back of Gu Mingming's head and kissed her brow, saying, Being so reliant and trusted by you makes me feel very accomplished. Gu Mingming did not say anything, but her eyes darkened. She turned to look at Elvis behind her and asked, You also know that Maya is Cole's woman? Elvis nodded and said, Her appearance was too coincidental, Leah and I were just talking about creating a tribe, when a female held hostage by stray beasts appeared in front of us. A concept of, I will give you a pillow if you want to sleep? Gu Mingming recalled that during the first year of mating, Elvis had told her about their creation of a tribe in order to persuade her to accept Leah. Elvis had told her that Maya was the first female in Saint Nazaire. She did not think much about it then, but now she finally understood. Was this Cole's bad taste again? You want to create a tribe? Alright, I'll give you a female, go ahead and create it. When you build your tribe and think that you have the strength to fight against me, I will personally destroy your tribe. I will watch the hope in your eyes extinguish in an instant, leaving only the thin smoke of despair. This was really like Cole's style. Why did you still save her when you knew? Gu Mingming frowned. But Leah looked at Gu Mingming as if he was looking at a child. He smiled gently, full of pampering and indulgence. I'm a fox. Leah waved his tail and said, Isn't the fox best at eating the meat in the trap and retreating unscathed, watching the hunter fly into a rage at the sight of the trap? Gu Mingming paused for a moment before smiling. A normal human's thought process would naturally be to avoid risks. If they knew that there was a trap, their first reaction would naturally be to avoid it. Snatching chestnuts from the fire, it wasn't her style, but she had to admit that Leah was right. Chapter 1129. But why did you tell her about us going to Moda Mountains? Gu Mingming frowned. She did not want to get involved with Cole. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little nose and said, Do you think Cole knows that I know Maya is his woman? Gu Mingming was a little confused by Lee's words and only understood after thinking it through twice. Thinking about it, with Cole's suspicious and scheming nature, it was impossible for him not to know that Leah had seen through Maya's identity. She nodded and said, I think so too. Leah chuckled and agreed, I think so too. Gu Mingming thought about it and then narrowed her eyes and said, You clearly know Maya is Cole's woman, but you still purposely leaked the information to Maya so that Cole would not believe you, right? Leah tapped the tip of Gu Mingming's nose and chuckled, Smart. In this way you have been asking about Moda Mountains with great fanfare, but in Cole's eyes, it is just a pretense. Gu Mingming chuckled, as if she could already see Cole's comical expression when he found out that he had been tricked by Leah. Yeah, the sight of the hunter standing at the side of the trap looking at the eaten bait and the empty trap was witnessed by the fox not far away. Such a beautiful scene, how could one not be looking forward to it? Leah rubbed his cheeks and said, And the spirit of the rocky cliffs that I unintentionally mentioned, will become the real target in that person's eyes. Gu Mingming nodded and smiled, Alright, I got it. Let's hold a bonfire party tonight, Mandy and Maya will sit beside me. Leah pulled Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it, saying, Yeah, I look forward to your performance. That night, 18 bonfires were set up on the empty ground in Saint Nazaire. Gu Mingming's bonfire was the largest, while Maya and Mandy sat on her left and right. Mandy was the first beauty that Gu Mingming had personally named herself. Because of her relationship with Ian, it was natural for her to sit beside Gu Mingming. But Maya was a half-orc female and did not have a deep relationship with Gu Mingming like Sandy. She actually sat beside Gu Mingming, and this caused the other females in the tribe to be very displeased. Gu Mingming acted as if she could not see the enmity in the eyes of the other females in the tribe towards Maya. She just smiled and waved at Maya, calling her over to her fire. Maya was still timid, just like the time when she knelt at Gu Mingming's feet and begged to follow her. It was just that Gu Mingming had thought through some key points and would no longer treat Maya's behavior as a half-orc female's inferiority complex and cowardice. He had thought that Nina was the most annoying female in the beast world. He did not expect to meet Ellie. He had originally thought that Ellie was the classic example of a green tea bitch in the beast world. He did not expect that Maya was hiding beside him. Tiske, so Maya was the scheming bitch among the females, the white lotus among the scumbags. He was really blind to not have seen it before. Maya. Gu Mingming smiled and was extremely gentle. Before I came back this time, Sandy was still talking about you to me. The three of us are the original females of Saint Nazir and our relationship is better than others. When I return from the Moda Mountains I will bring you to Sauter. Sandy has 3 leopard cubs at home and they are so cute. Chapter 1130. Gu Mingming chuckled. Ah, the fish had bitten the bait. If they were really good friends, shouldn't they be concerned about Sandy and the cubs after hearing Gu Mingming's words? Why didn't Gu Mingming see through such clumsy acting in the past? Perhaps it was not that she couldn't see through it, but she had never cared about Maya before? So now that she knew she was a spy, she did not feel any anger. Yeah, putting herself in Maya's shoes, Gu Mingming tried to think. If this spy was not Maya but Sandy, she would definitely be furious. With that thought, Gu Mingming's mood improved. She smiled more sincerely and said, "Yeah, I plan to go to the Moda Mountains during the rainy season to find the love of the sky. But the Moda Mountains are very high, beasts can't even go up." Maya looked at Gu Mingming innocently. She did not know how many secrets she had revealed. Gu Mingming and Leah had to spend a long time to pry information about the Moda Mountains out of Ian's mouth, and as a half-orc female with no achievements in Saint Nazir, she really knew too much. Gu Mingming had her own thoughts but she did not show it on her face. She just continued, "Yeah, so I plan to take in a male vulture as my partner and let him fly me up." Vulture? What? Maya's face was full of longing, her eyes shining with envy. She said, "I heard that vultures are the most arrogant race in the beast world. Every one of them has outstanding looks and is powerful. Gu Mingming is probably the only one in the entire beast world who can tame such a male. What a clumsy bootlicking." Gu Mingming smiled despite her disgust. "Yeah, they are my father's most loyal subjects. They should have the honor of being my partners." Maya's smile froze. If it was in the past, Gu Mingming would not have paid attention to Maya and would definitely not have noticed this flash of jealousy. But now she could see it clearly. Maya quickly adjusted her expression and smiled in agreement. "Yeah, being able to be your partner is a gift from the beast deity. After all, you are not only the messenger of the beast deity, but also the daughter of the beast deity." Gu Mingming smiled without saying a word. She just raised her eyebrows and put on a proud look. Maya was also afraid that she would give herself away if she stayed by Gu Mingming's side for too long, so when she saw that Gu Mingming was ignoring her, she took the initiative to say goodbye and returned to her campfire. After Maya left, Gu Mingming called Mandy over. The 2 males who came with her were the first partner Ralph and the newly mated Ian. Ralph was very tactful and did not take the initiative to approach Gu Mingming. Instead, he went to Lee's side to learn how to cook. Ian was more familiar with Gu Mingming. Before mating, Elvis and Leah did not say anything when he loitered around Gu Mingming. Now that they had mated, Elvis and Leah were even less concerned about him.